The desert stretched, vast and unforgiving. Red dust danced with the wind. A lone sign warned travellers, beware. Locals knew the truth. They spoke of a creature, whispered tales passed down generations. The Skinwalker. It could take any form, a twisted mockery of nature, driven by a hunger only cruelty could satisfy. This was its domain, and tonight it was hunting. Two friends, Jake and Emily, hiked a familiar trail. The air, once warm, turned cold. Laughter died in their throats. They were lost. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of blood orange and deep violet. Fear coiled in their stomachs. "We should have turned back," Emily whispered, her voice trembling. Jake, trying to appear brave, scanned the darkening landscape. "We'll find the trail," he said, his voice lacking conviction. But the desert played tricks on the mind. Every shadow seemed to writhe. The wind picked up, howling like a wounded animal. It carried a new sound, a low guttural growl that sent shivers down their spines. They pushed on, desperate to escape the growing darkness. The air grew heavy, thick with a strange, musky odour like decay and fear. Suddenly the growl erupted again, closer this time. It seemed to come from the very heart of the desert itself. Emily stumbled, her eyes wide with terror. "Something's hunting us," she breathed, her voice barely a whisper. They ran through the shifting shadows, their breath catching in their throats. The growl followed their every move, a predator toying with its prey. Then they saw it. A pair of eyes, glowing with an unnatural intensity, emerged from the darkness. They stared, unblinking, filled with a chilling hunger. The eyes vanished as quickly as they had appeared, but the fear lingered, a tangible presence in the cold night air. They were being stalked, hunted by something ancient and evil. Panic seized them. They stumbled and fell, their hands scraping against the rough ground. The forest was a labyrinth of shadows, each step more treacherous than the last. The darkness was so thick it felt almost tangible, wrapping around them like a suffocating shroud. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig sent their hearts racing. They could feel the weight of the curse pressing down on them, an invisible force that seemed to drain their very will to fight. The growl echoed around them, closer than ever. The air crackled with unseen energy. It was as if the very atmosphere was charged with malevolence, a sinister force that sought to ensnare them. The growl was not just a sound, it was a promise of impending doom. They could feel the creature's presence lurking just beyond the edge of their vision, a shadowy figure that seemed to blend seamlessly with the darkness. The very earth seemed to vibrate with the creature's malevolence. The scent of decay intensified, suffocating them. The forest, once a place of life and growth, now felt like a graveyard. The trees, twisted and gnarled, seemed to reach out with skeletal branches, as if trying to trap them. The ground beneath their feet felt unstable, as if it could give way at any moment, swallowing them into the depths of the earth. Then, silence. A silence more terrifying than the growls, for it spoke of the creature's patience. It was a silence that seemed to stretch on forever, a void that threatened to consume them. The absence of sound was deafening, amplifying their fear. They knew that the creature was still there, watching, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The silence was a cruel reminder of their helplessness, a stark contrast to the chaos that had preceded it. It was waiting, watching. Emily and Jake huddled together, their faces pale with terror. The moonlight cast eerie shadows on their faces, highlighting the fear in their eyes. They clung to each other, seeking comfort in their shared terror. Every breath was a struggle, every heartbeat a reminder of their impending doom. They could feel the creature's gaze upon them, a cold, unfeeling stare, that seemed to pierce their very souls. They knew with a certainty that chilled them to the bone that they were doomed. There was no escape, no hope of rescue. The curse had claimed them, and there was nothing they could do to break free. The realization was a heavy weight on their hearts, a bone-chilling certainty that left them paralyzed with fear. They could only wait, helpless and terrified, for the inevitable end. Adrenaline surged through Jake. His heart pounded like a drum in his chest, each beat echoing the urgency of their situation. The night was a canvas of terror, painted with shadows and the unknown. He grabbed Emily's hand, pulling her to her feet. Her eyes mirrored his fear, but there was a spark of determination. They couldn't afford to hesitate. Every second counted. "We have to run," he gasped, his voice hoarse with fear. The words were barely a whisper, but they carried the weight of their survival. The air was thick with tension, every breath a struggle. They fled through the night, their lungs burning, their legs screaming for rest. The desert was unforgiving, each step sinking into the soft sand, making their escape even more arduous. But the creature was faster, its growls urging them onward in a terrifying chase. It was a relentless predator, its glowing eyes piercing through the darkness, a constant reminder of the danger that lurked behind them. The desert stretched endlessly before them, a labyrinth of shadows and whispering wind. The vast expanse seemed to mock their efforts, offering no refuge, no sanctuary from the terror that pursued them. The eyes continued to appear and disappear, toying with them, herding them towards their doom. It was a cruel game, and they were the unwilling participants, trapped in a nightmare with no end in sight. Their hope dwindled with each passing moment, replaced by a bone-chilling certainty that there would be no escape. Desperation clawed at their hearts, but they pushed on, driven by the faintest glimmer of survival instinct. They collapsed, their bodies spent. Every muscle screamed for rest, but their minds were too fraught with terror to find any solace. The forest floor, cold and unyielding, offered no comfort. They had been running for hours, maybe days. It was hard to tell anymore. Time had become a blur of fear and fatigue. The growls surrounded them, a chorus of death. Each guttural sound echoed through the trees, bouncing off the trunks and reverberating in their chests. It was as if the forest itself was alive, conspiring against them, closing in with every passing second. Emily sobbed, her body racked with fear. Tears streamed down her face, mixing with the dirt and sweat. Her sobs were the only human sound in the oppressive silence, a stark contrast to the menacing growls that filled the air. She clutched her knees to her chest, trying to make herself as small as possible. Jake looked up, his eyes searching the darkness for their pursuer. His heart pounded in his chest, each beat a painful reminder of their dire situation. He strained his ears, hoping to catch any sound that might give away the creature's location, but all he heard was the relentless growling and Emily's sobs. But the creature remained hidden, its presence all the more terrifying for its invisibility. The shadows seemed to dance and shift, playing tricks on their eyes. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig sent shivers down their spines. The forest was a labyrinth of fear, and they were hopelessly lost within it. Then a voice, raspy and ancient, whispered through the wind. It was a sound that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once, chilling them to the bone. The wind carried the voice like a ghostly messenger, delivering its sinister message with eerie clarity. "You are mine," it hissed, the words slithering into their ears like venomous snakes. The voice was filled with malice, each syllable dripping with a promise of suffering. It was a claim of ownership, a declaration that there would be no escape from the horrors that awaited them. The eyes appeared one last time, closer now, burning with a hunger that promised unimaginable pain. They glowed with an otherworldly light, piercing through the darkness like twin beacons of doom. The sight of them sent a fresh wave of terror through the group, paralyzing them with fear, and then everything went black. The oppressive darkness swallowed them whole, leaving them in a void of silence and fear. It was as if the forest had finally claimed them, pulling them into its inescapable embrace. The nightmare had only just begun.